So this is now our next definition. Linearly dependent vectors. Can you guess what we need in order to talk about linearly dependent vectors? Yeah. Well, what's the set of all vectors that we've been considering for this entire lesson? A1, A2, all the way to AN. We say the vector B is linearly dependent on the vectors, can you guess what I'm about to say? A1, A2, all the way down to AN, if and only if, what? B can be written as a linear combination of the vectors A1 through AN. So this is one context of linearly dependent. And this is for some set of scalars. I guess if I'm going to be really formal, I could go like this, right? So let's take a look at this. The vector 1, 1, 1, 1, what did we just claim about the vector 1, 1, 1, 1? That it was linearly dependent on A1 and A2. Why did we claim it was linearly dependent on A1 and A2 from this definition standpoint? Because B could be written as 1 times A1 plus, I think it's negative 1 in other words, A3 was x1 times A1 plus x2 times A2 for x1 equal to 1, x2 equal to negative 1. What would you immediately say about the vector A3 in terms of A1 and A2? Okay. This now gets us into the second definition of linearly dependent. One definition, you've got to be really careful in this class because there's actually two different contexts of the verb or the adjective linearly dependent. That's a conjoined adjective to describe a vector, right? Vectors are green, vectors are big, vectors are linearly dependent, right? When we say linearly dependent, what's underneath? A set of vectors. It's got to depend on something, right? When we say financially dependent, what's underneath that? A moneymaker, right? A child? No, I'm financially dependent on my wife, right? She's my sugar mama, right? Somebody that's paying the bills. In this case, when I say a vector is linearly dependent, what does it mean? Yeah, it depends on something underneath. What does it depend on? Another set of vectors. Okay. So in that context, linear dependent describes a single vector with reference to another set of vectors.